Hey everybody, welcome into the Spread, NESN.com's Football Picks Podcast. I'm NESN.com's Mike Cole, joined as always by Andre Cacciatorian on my left, Ricky Doyle on my right. Gentlemen, welcome back for week 3 of our extravaganza.
It's that time of year where we always say, wow, I can't believe it's week 3.
I know.
I can't believe it. I was in the shower yesterday and I was like, wow, I can't believe it's week 3 tomorrow.
I was like digging into this and I spent probably an hour thinking it was week 2. So that's probably not going to bode well for me this week, but
yeah,
I'm already...
We've approached the annual Mike Cole birthday episode as well.
Seriously, happy birthday, Mike. 32 years old.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You just said right before you started, hey,
well,
great handshakes all around for anybody who's listening.
You set the precedent.
It's your birthday. Every year we do this.
That's a fabulous looking chocolate chip muffin.
I got this from one of my coworkers downstairs in creative service.
Shout
out Thomas. I don't smoke, but
the lighter. I thought you meant the muffin.
The muffin I got from and
let's hope we don't have a Tennessee Titans sideline situation on our hands here.
Thank you.
One candle. You said right before we started that you feel like you're getting old.
Hey!
I do. Yeah, I feel
an impeccable blow right there.
I feel very old.
The wind that blows.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, and it was your birthday.
Thank you.
So tell us what you do in this show.
What?
It's your birthday, so tell us what you do in the show, and then I'll give the records. That's what we usually do.
What do you mean?
Did you already tell everyone what we do in
No,
the
we're
show?
gonna. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, this is. If you clicked on this for the first time, looking for picks and
three
stuff,
babbling
what
idiots.
the hell are these guys talking about? A guy downstairs with a lighter. Birthday episodes. Anyway, it's the Spread, NESN.com's football picks podcast. We're gonna make against spread picks for the 3 best NFL games of the weekend. We'll do locks, upsets, and then we'll get the hell out of here because we have other things we have to do.
Get the hell out of here.
Before we get into our picks for week three, how did we do last week, Andre?
We did very well again. So far, we're all having a good season. Mike, you and I 9-7 each, and Ricky 8-8. Mike, you and I are 18, 13-1, tied for first place. Ricky not far behind, 16, 15-1. We're all above 500. Everybody's having a good time.
This is where we should note that we do each of the games. Publish that on Thursdays.
Yes.
I think we did do it on Thursday last week after a rough go of it in week 1.
Hey, it's preseason forever.
But so that's where the overall schedules are reflected there. But yeah, solid start.
So I want to get into a couple things. While we're still on the topic of last week, I will actually mention too, by the way, we are 15-3-0 combined in our big 3 picks so far this year. So that's pretty damn good. And I just want to say, hey to the haters. We had a lot of haters last week, and I tell you what, we
invited the criticism.
Well, and we did, but we sit here and we're accountable for our decisions and our picks as well. Every week, our records are up there. We feel good about it when we do well. We hide in shame when we do poorly. We're not going to allow people to besmirch our good names and not let them take a little bit of
on your birthday, no less.
You talking about Ruben Young?
So I'm talking about a few people. I'm talking about Andrew Adams.
We're dropping names right out of the chute.
Well, I just tell you what, we're gonna have to add a fourth member. We're gonna have to add a 4th member to our panel. It's gonna be a coin flipping monkey who apparently Andrew Adams thinks 9-6-1 record is average. He said last week, which is an interesting take from Andrew Adams. Said we were bragging about going 9-6-1 last week. He says that's average. He wouldn't brag about it because a coin flipping monkey could pick 7 out of 16 games. Well, we didn't have a coin flipping monkey, but we had the next best thing. We had Andrew Adams give his picks in the comments. He went 4-6 against the spread, so I wouldn't be going bragging about that. Adam Zinnicker, what's up? He said these guys are morons, especially their take on the Vikings and Packers game. Yes, the Vikings want to run the ball, but they're more than capable of passing. It's funny if you say it out loud. They have 2 of the best receivers. They didn't pass much last week because they didn't need to. Why pass when the run game is working? Kirk Cousins last week, 14 of 32, 230 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, 8.3 QBR, including a back-breaking interception that allowed the Packers to cover that number, so we feel good about that.
Speak for yourself. I didn't feel great about that.
Oh, that's right, you didn't. Sorry about that. And Ruben Young.
He said, you people are crazy, man. I can't wait to see next week's video when Vikings kill the Packers. Well, Ruben, here we are, next week's video. How you feeling this Tuesday, Ruben? And Bill Harville. Looks like their studio is at Starbucks. Come on, this is a nice studio.
Well, it's clearly... Well, I don't want to give away...
We have a Dunkin' over here.
I guess we're going to just give away free ads. We're a Dunkin' company, though, so we have been in the past, at least. So anyway, all right, let's get into week 3. We'll start Sunday afternoon. Let me pull up my
Sunday.
What Sunday afternoon?
Terrible Thursday night game last week.
Thursday, and not much better this week. We had
Titans.
This is the which I mentioned to you last night. I feel like we have this Thursday night matchup 8 times this season.
Rush.
You know what? Maybe. It's a 40-point over/under. I think they can go over.
Okay, sure.
Very low over/under.
Yeah, it's free picks we're giving out right there for Thursday night games.
Yeah, take that one.
So
apologies to anybody watching this on Friday.
Yeah, no kidding.
You miss out,
especially if they go over the over. So actually, I think this is by far the best game of the weekend. I'm actually looking forward to this game more so than any of the other ones that we're going to talk about today. But the Ravens go to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. 2 teams that are playing pretty well so far to start the season. This is a real test for the Ravens, who have looked very impressive thus far. But that's coming against the Dolphins, who are historically bad, and the Cardinals at home. And actually, Arizona gave them a game. Now they have to go to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs 2-0 to start the season. Impressive win last week against Oakland. Kansas City is laying 6.5 points here. Looks like the total right now is at 47, and nearly 80% of the money, last time I checked, and 80% of the tickets coming in on the Chiefs. Kind of interesting. Ricky, where are you sitting on this?
I love that. I love hearing that because
I hate how much I love my pick for this one, and I think you're probably in the same.
I really love the Ravens in this spot. And they're a team that I feel so much better about them when they're in this underdog role. The fact that you're also, as you just mentioned, all that money coming in on them at this point makes me feel a little bit better about it too. Ravens 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games as an underdog, 10-4-1 against the spread in their last 15 road games. And just overall, I mean, I know you mentioned the level of competition so far, the Dolphins and the Cardinals, so this being their first real test, but I don't know. I think that offense might be legit. You know, just the unpredictability of it all. The fact that they have these weapons now, and Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews. Yep. I mean, you run those RPOs, and we saw last week with Lamar Jackson after a week 1 shootout, showed off his legs last week. Yeah. So I just think the unpredictability on offense. Still some issues on the Chiefs defense. So I think this could turn into a little bit of a shootout, and I like the Ravens to cover the number.
Everybody's talking about how Baltimore is a passing team now because of Lamar Jackson's success in the air, but they're still a running team. They lead the league in rushing attempts, rushing yards, and they're 3rd in yards per rush attempt, and the Chiefs still can't stop the run. They're one of the worst teams in terms of allowing yards per carry
most
last
yards
year.
Per carry this year.
And they have the most yards per carry this year, and they went up against Jacksonville and Oakland.
Yeah.
Those teams don't have great running backs. Maybe Leonard Fournette, but like that.
Well, it's kind of like weirdly used, doesn't fit the system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Chiefs, they lost 6 yards per carry. Baltimore, the best rushing team in the league. And now they can throw the ball too. And defensively, I still trust them. They allow 1.8 yards per carry. And I know it was against Miami and Arizona. But they're historically good on defense. I think they're still going to be good this year. I think they have enough arsenal to cover the spread. And 6.5 points is a lot of points. I agree with you, Ricky and Mike. 6.5 points. I'll take the Ravens.
Yeah, I hate how much I like this game.
Why do you hate it?
Because I'm usually wrong.
No, we're 15-3 in the big games this year.
I've been usually right this year.
We're riding high.
We're feeling good.
Walking around my chest puffed
There's
out.
There's a lot of some regression.
We're calling out people by name.
We're gonna look really bad.
Calling out Ruben Young.
We're gonna look really bad. Anyway, so this actually is a rematch. These 2 teams played last year. Kansas City won that game. It was actually in overtime in Kansas City, 27-24. Lamar Jackson, 13-24, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 67 yards. In that game, Baltimore ran the ball 40 times for 194 yards. That was like the early on when they were like, this is really what they're going to do. They're going to do this a lot. And Kansas City, again, to Andre's point, hasn't proved that they can stop the run. According to Ben Fennell, he's a good film review guy on Twitter. He pointed out Baltimore has 16 runs at 10-plus yards already this season. They're averaging 223 yards per game, rushing yards per game. I don't know if you mentioned that in your soliloquy as well. So a lot to like there. I don't know. That's just a lot of points if we're at least even somewhat convinced, Baltimore is going to be able to put up numbers here. So you kind of look at all of that and add it up, and it's like, you
got to wonder too if this is the week that
what are we missing here?
That Kansas City feels the loss of Tyreek Hill. Going up against the Raiders is one thing, but as you mentioned, just the overall track record of the Ravens.
Maybe not though. I mean, they've been.
You take out that second quarter, Raiders win that game.
Well, that's my thing. Is I guess if I had one concern about this game from a Ravens standpoint, it is the fact that they've given up some big plays. I think they've given up 10 plays of 20, 10 pass plays of 20 plus yards. Obviously, that plays right into the Chiefs' hands. But I don't know. You look at the Chiefs, the big second quarter you mentioned that came against the Raiders. A lot of miscommunication in that secondary. A week after they played the Jaguars, who were just all over the place with some busted coverages. I just think the Ravens will be a little bit more disciplined on the defensive side. Maybe cause some pressure as well. I know Eric Fisher's a little banged up, so I think this team Baltimore is equipped defensively to slow that Kansas City offense to an extent. And then for the reasons that we mentioned, offensively, I think the Ravens will be able to move the football.
Kansas City also, they allow the fourth most yards per play this season so far. And again, that was against Jacksonville and Oakland, two teams that are not offensive powerhouses. It would be one thing to say, they gave up those yards against the Patriots and the give me another high-powered offense, Saints.
Yeah.
But no, it was Jaguars, Raiders.
Well, not last week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One thing to know too, Chiefs. The jury's still kind of out on that defense. A little, revamped from a year ago. Well, last year, only 4 teams surrendered more receptions to tight ends. Only 2 teams surrendered more receiving yards to tight ends, and only 1 team surrendered more receiving touchdowns to tight ends. So this could be another 100-yard game for Mark Andrews.
Also, we're pointing out Kansas City 4th most penalty yards per game through 2 weeks. And the red zone offense, surprisingly, hasn't been great. I mean, they don't really need it with how much big plays they get. But
speaking of penalties and causing teams to lose points, it's because of penalties. Let's move on to our next game.
Oh, by the way, before I do that, one quick point. It was the total in that game was 55, not 47. I'm not really sure where I got that from, but 55 makes a lot more sense. I think there should be some points there. Were you talking about the Houston Texans game?
I'm talking about the Chargers because they had 2 touchdowns taken back.
Which is
last week.
Interesting point. Yeah, the Chargers coming off of 2 teams that did not look very good last week, to varying degrees of success. But the Texans eked out a 13-12 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have to go to Los Angeles, take on the Chargers. The Chargers, everybody, save for maybe Phillip Rivers at this point, is hurt. The Chargers still, though, laying 3 points here. It's a 425 kick. 48 total. The public all over Houston as a road dog here. Andre, who do you like?
I like the Chargers in this one, getting the points on the road. This is why I like yards per play so much, because the Chargers didn't look good last week, right? But yards per play shows that this is a good team, but they're just not scoring points. And that's the Chargers, 4th most yards per play. That last week, their last 4 drives, they fumbled on the 5-yard line. They missed 2 field goals back to back, and they threw a pick to end the game. They're a good team. They have to clean it up. I think they're a good team. And I think they will clean it up in this spot right here. Austin Eckler and Jackson, what's his first name? Justin Jackson. I think they're 2 good running backs. Houston allows 6 yards per rushing play. They're not good against the run. I think they're going to have big games there. Take some pressure off Phillip Rivers. He won't have to throw the ball 35, 40 times in the game. And also Houston, their offensive line continues to struggle. I see a big game for Joey Bosa, who's 5th among all defensive players in defensive grades on Pro Football Focus, and also Ingram as well. He's a great pass rusher. So, the Chargers.
I agree with you, and it is because the offensive line being one of the issues. It just seems like the Texans' issues sort of play right into the Chargers' hands. Yeah. That offensive line going up against, obviously, a very good pass rush for the Chargers. Also, there's issues in that Texans secondary. The overall final score of that game against the Jaguars, 13-12. I mean, it tells you it was a dogfight. But there were times when they struggled against those Jaguars receivers who are big, physical. I think you could see that happening this week. Against a guy like Mike Williams, who's about 6'4", 6'5", big target. In tackling, if tackling is an issue again for them, as you mentioned, Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson. These are guys you give the ball to them, they get in space, they could do some damage. So, while I am terrified by all the injuries that you mentioned, I mean, from Derwin James all the way on down, losing Adrian Phillips, a very versatile
2 all-pro safeties.
Yeah, very versatile safety. Essentially, Anthony Lynn called him like a coach on the field, more or less, captain of that secondary. The injuries they terrify me, but I don't know. I think Houston just has some issues that the Chargers are going to be able to exploit in this game, especially number one being that offensive line because. They went out, they addressed that, paid a premium to bring in Laramie Tunsil, but he's been pretty inconsistent, also banged up a little bit, so I just think that they're going to be able to have a field day and tee off on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like, Deshaun Watson gets any sort of time, he's going to light them up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a big F.
And I keep going back and forth, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, the safest thing to kind of confide in is, can you protect the quarterback and can you get after the quarterback? And I think the Chargers will be able to do a little bit better of a job then, because the Chargers have had their own issues protecting Phillip Rivers too. The loss of Russell Okung has hurt them a lot so far this season. But I think, if I had to make my pick, Chargers being at home, I give that a little tick of an edge there. They probably do a better job getting after the passer at home than they would on the road. So I'm going to take the Chargers as well. Again, this pick was really tough for me. But I also look at that Houston run defense has been pretty bad so far this season. And Eckler's been running well. They have the third best yards per carry as a team through 2 games this season. The Chargers do. They do a nice job of bouncing back in the Phil Rivers era. Or I don't even know how far back this goes, but they're 10-1-1 against the spread in their last 12 games after an against the spread loss. So, in Houston, by the way,
never never covered against.
Yeah,
the
they're 0-6
Chargers.
against the spread in 6 games against the Chargers.
Watson has been pressured 37 times this year. It's the most any quarterback, along with Matt Ryan. And in those 37 dropbacks, he's 10 of 23. He's been sacked 10 times.
Yeah, only the Dolphins have given up more quarterback hits this year. So it's just like, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I've actually.
This is going back a year now.
I look at, I have like my spreadsheet and stuff, and I look at the team rankings website, teamrankings.com, and they have their sack percentage, which is basically, what is that, sacks per dropback or whatever. And so what I do is I put those all in, I have sack percentage and sack percentage allowed, and I just subtract the two just to see who, give me an idea who does well in the trenches, so to speak. Right. Houston has the worst differential in the entire league.
It's not surprising.
Chargers isn't a whole lot better, but still.
And if you're looking at, that Houston defense, the calling card is really the pass rush. J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, those guys. But
they were better last week than they were in week 2.
But it still was, it wasn't the level we're accustomed to seeing. And I think the Chargers with, Eckler and Jackson, these guys that you could sort of get rid of the ball quickly, can sort of mitigate that pass rush. So I just think that the Chargers have this. They have the formula to be able to withstand that type of pressure.
The under might be a play here too.
I think a lot. I think this is going to be a grind. I think this might be similar to the Houston Jacksonville game, in which case, laying points is probably ill-advised, but
at least but I mean that's at least what I would try to do if I was the Chargers.
You know what scares me though?
I'm seeing this as like a 2013, 2014
LA's
type
kicking
of
issues scare me though.
That actually is the one thing. I mean, the clear advantage there is Houston with fair.
But I will say this: the opponent's average drive start against the Chargers is the 23-yard line, so they might not be great on the field goal kicking part of the special teams, but they're good at punting.
Well, you would like to see them.
Good.
They're good at punting.
That was awesome.
It would have been nice if they had a real kicker last week. Because you mentioned
the Chargers have been saying
left
that
points
for
on the
years.
field on several occasions. They had like 2 touchdowns called back before that.
2
fumble
touchdowns
at the goal
called back.
line.
Be nice if anyone had
Fumbled
a
at the
kicker.
5-yard line, 2 missed field goals, and then an interception to end the game.
And I mean, you're playing with fire by having your punter kick field goals, anyways.
Yeah.
But,
Don't settle for field goals.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Sunday night football.
Anything else on that? I guess not, considering you're.
No, I'm ready to move on.
Where'd you get average drive start?
ProFootballReference.com.
Thank you. Okay, so Sunday Night Football. Again, get used to it. Cleveland Browns going to be on primetime a lot this year. They are back in the dog pound this weekend. Sunday night against the Los Angeles Rams. Rams coming off a pretty impressive win against the, albeit Drew Brees less-ish Saints team. But I thought, the Rams, once they found their stride, looked pretty good. Now they have to go on the road and prove their mettle in Cleveland as 3-point road favorites. The total currently set at 50.5. Looks like the public is all over the Rams. I think pregame.com had nearly all the bets and the money on the Rams. OddsShark has it at 78%. So that's something to keep in mind. Weather's not going to be an issue, so maybe that's a good thing for the Rams catching
Cleveland.
Yeah, catching Cleveland in
Still nice
September.
in Cleveland this time.
It's going to be like mid-70s on Sunday in Cleveland.
I mean, I never go to NFLweather.com in September. I start usually logging there until November.
I like to, hurricane season.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting hurricanes.
I've already been studying my sundial.
Yeah, that's it's something to keep in mind.
I'm projecting games in December.
Who you got here?
Me?
Yeah.
Rams.
Rams.
I'll get 3 points. It's still 3, right?
Yeah, it's 3. That's what I got. Yeah.
Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib have combined only allowed 76 yards this season.
By the way,
their corners are great.
Real quick, Aqib Talib. I hope Odell Beckham wears one of his watches. Does a whole little snatching the watch.
If we still had show and tell, this would be a big league. We'd be printing out ticket stubs to that bout.
Also, this is a Cleveland versus Cleveland showdown. The LA Rams were started in Cleveland.
Very pertinent information.
Love a good history lesson.
just so everyone knows. No, I think LA's corners are great. I think the Browns are going to be one of those teams this year that feast on bad teams like the Giants on Monday night that they did this week. But they're going to struggle against the best teams in the league. And I think the Rams are one of the best teams in the league, even though I had them not going to the playoffs. I think I'm going to whiff on that. But I think that sounds about it. I really don't think Baker Mayfield has what it takes to go up against a good elite team like the Rams on prime time, and I just don't think he's there in that moment yet.
That would be sort of a continuation from last year. It went 1-5 under Mayfield against teams that finished with winning records.
Yes.
So, and I think you're right. I think that'll be an issue again this year. This, I will say, of the 3 games, gave me the hardest time. Just I don't like the idea of laying the points on the road, but
especially when the public is all over.
Yeah, and that terrifies me. But I mean, I'm still taking the Rams in this. And it's just because ultimately I think I just trust them more in this spot. I mean, we've seen them have success on the road, especially 14-3 straight up, 10-7 against the spread on the road under Sean McVay. They've played well against the AFC, and I just. Having just watched the Browns through those first 2 weeks, I just get the sense that this is going to be a team that's sort of a roller coaster. And I think that's going to be from a discipline standpoint. I think along that offensive line, it was much better in week 2 against the Jets, but I don't know how much you can really deduce from that Monday night game. The Jets were pretty much in shambles on both sides of the ball. Baker Mayfield sacked 7 times in 9 games last season, 8 times in 2 games this season. So I can just see a scenario where the Rams cause some pressure on defense. Maybe they get a pick or 2 because, as we've seen, when Mayfield is pressured and he gets into these situations where he has to force throws, he makes mistakes. And I think it's like 18 interceptions last year or something like that. So I don't know. I just in this spot on Monday night in prime time, I trust the Rams a little bit more. I need to see it from the Browns first.
I agree.
And I think this goes back to our season preview episode where we said maybe people are a year too early on this team. I want to see some of this from Cleveland before I start picking them in a game like this against the reigning NFC champs.
Yeah, I'm making it a sweep, I guess.
We agreed on everything.
Us 3 and the public. I don't think so. I guess the kind of
I think tight-knit group here.
I think it's going to be a trend for the league.
At this point, 4 years of doing this.
That's true.
We all look at the same trends and we make our deductions. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Based on the same things we see.
Yeah. So, kind of
chamber.
To further Ricky's point, like LA under McVay, 12-2 straight up as road favorites. So they take care of business on the road. 8-6 against the spread, but that's a pretty good number. Cleveland is on has short rests this week. Sean McVay, since taking over, is 6-1 against the spread when he has the rest advantage. Let's see what else. Cleveland, they still have questions about their discipline. I just think the Rams are a much better coach team, at least especially right now. Like McVay, for his faults in the Super Bowl and stuff like that, has his team ready to go. Freddie Kitchens, God love him, schemes up a great offensive game plan, but we haven't seen a whole lot to make you think that this team is going to be disciplined or get it together anytime soon. And I think that also has to do with the quarterback. Baker Mayfield's thrown at least 1 pick in 10 of his 15 career starts. And when LA wins the turnover battle under McVay, they're 14-1. They win those 14 games by an average of 14 points. Might have actually been higher.
That's incredible. And just look at Mayfield's body of work last year, his wins twice against the Bengals. Once against the Falcons, and they had all those injuries last year. They weren't the same Falcons. Panthers, Jets, and a 12-9 win over the Ravens. Right. Which,
this team is much better than that team, at least on, the roster is much better. They have more talent.
Mayfield didn't throw.
So this is a huge stretch for them.
To that point, too.
They had a pretty rough go. Well, you get this game against the Ravens on Sunday night.
The Rams.
The Rams. Then they travel to Baltimore to face the Ravens.
Ooh.
Then they travel to San Francisco to face the Niners on Monday night, which is kind of whatever, but still it's a West Coast swing. Then they host the Seahawks, bye week, and then they travel to New England and Denver.
Yikes, that New England game.
So I mean, it's a pretty it's a tough stretch, and this is the type of game that sort of puts you on the map. Yeah. Like if we're gonna take you serious, you need to come out with a good showing in this game.
This is by far the best offense that they've faced this year, and they still. Pro Football Focus has them as the 29th ranked tackling team. Tackling's been an issue.
Let's not bias too much stock in them. They beat Luke Falk.
Yeah.
Nice.
Also, I just thought this was interesting. I was looking at messing around with Sharp football stats. Cleveland is 8th in explosive play rate this year. It's through 2 games, whatever. And but you saw that Monday night, right? So they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything for 3 quarters, right? And then they finally hit on a couple big plays late in that game.
It's like how frequently or how successful are you going to be if you're relying on one-handed grabs by OBJ on the sideline?
And it seems like even going back to
it's not sustainable.
Even once they started hitting their stride last year, it was the same idea. Like it felt like a lot of big plays. Anecdotally, I haven't looked that up, but I will say the Rams have allowed 1 explosive pass this season. They've been very good at limiting the big play.
It was against the Saints,
which is
who did they play week 1? The Panthers.
Panthers. Yeah, I mean it's
Christian McCaffrey.
Sure. Yeah. So it's
where do you get explosive play rates from?
Sharpfootballstats.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're sharing information.
We are, yeah. So we're gonna have even more picks in lockstep. Speaking of, Ricky, what do you got for a lock this week?
My lock, I will take the Seahawks, who last time I checked were 5-point favorites over the Saints, the Drew Brees-less Saints. Seahawks, just them being at home in this game is a big thing for me. 15-0 straight up, 12-3 against the spread in September road games under Pete Carroll. Saints, we've mentioned in the past how they're sort of slow starters, but they've just been slow all around really recently. 0-7 against the spread in their last 7 games. I don't know what to really expect from that New Orleans offense without Brees. I think you saw Alvin Kamara held in check. Will that sort of become the norm with Teddy Bridgewater playing quarterback? Is that they over-reliant on that rushing attack and they become too predictable? So while I do think New Orleans could cause some problems from a pass rush standpoint, we've seen from Seattle their ability to overcome that, and I think they've done a real good job at that through 2 weeks of just if the defense is bringing the heat, they're getting the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands pretty quickly. So I just think the Seahawks right now are in a good place. I think they'll cover against the Saints.
Okay.
A lot of injuries to
Seahawks.
the Saints.
I'm going with the Bills, 6-point favorites over the Bengals. The Bengals have ran for 59 yards this season. That's it, collectively as a team. There are 4 teams in the NFL whose longest run of the season is a larger number than that. Jesus. And their defense is not much better. Drake, Kirkpatrick, and B.W. Webb have been targeted 15 times combined for 13 catches, 217 yards, and they've both allowed perfect passer ratings according to Pro Football Focus. I don't think the Bills' offense is explosive or whatever, but I think Josh Allen, he's improving. You can see that already this year, and he shouldn't have a tough time against this Bengals team. Buffalo is also the 5th best yards per play differential in the league. You guys know how much I love that stat. And Cincinnati allows nearly 7 yards per play, the 2nd worst mark in the league. I think the Bills' offense is going to do well this week. They're not going to be the Patriots of the world, but they'll beat the Jets, Giants, and Bengals and go 3-0.
Okay.
3-0 Bills, huh?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Going against the showdown against the Patriots.
It is very good.
I think it's a good unit.
Week 4, it's going to be 3-0 versus 3-0 for AFC supremacy. And the Bills will be 35-point underdogs.
I will take. What are you on, locks still? Jeez, I'll take
Lock it up.
Chicago Monday night against Washington. Trubisky has looked terrible. That offense has looked terrible. But I mean, they've played Green Bay, whose defense looks legit, at least against the pass. And they went to Denver last week, which is not an easy place to play, especially against that defense, especially with the level of familiarity with Vic Fangio and things like that. So. I think this is kind of a good place to get right. The Washington defense I don't think it's that good. This should be a relatively soft place to land. And I think you going into DC where they have issues with attendance and things like that. A lot of Chicago transplants in the nation's capital, so I think there'll be plenty of Bears fans there.
Check demographics.
Trying to offset that. No, you
just have a feeling.
It's a transplant city.
DC?
Yeah. Think about it.
It's like usually when I think of transplant city, I think of Phoenix.
Sure, but I mean, at least 535 people are from other parts of the country. If you think about it, the senators, House of Representatives.
That's true.
Plus all their staffs. Illinois. I don't know. It's probably some. There are some Bears fans.
The game is in Landover, Maryland.
Yeah, I know. So they're gonna have to get Ubers or something. I don't know what the public transportation situation is there, but who knows?
Upsets.
Yeah, let's do upsets. Andre.
I'm going with the Giants over the Bucks, 6.5-point underdogs. The line did not change after the quarterback was announced. Still 6.5 points. I do think they have a better quarterback now than Eli Manning, but I don't think that's why they're going to win. I think they're going to win because of Saquon Barkley. The Giants are averaging 7.6 yards per carry this year, and that's mostly thanks to Saquon. The next most on the list are the Texans at 5.8 yards per carry. That's nearly 2 yards per carry more than the second best. That's unbelievable. Jameis Winston didn't throw a pick last week. When was the last time he didn't throw a pick? You think he's going to go 2 straight games without a pick? If he goes 2 straight games without a pick, I'll be shocked. I think the Giants, they haven't had a pick yet this season. They will after this week. And I think the Giants will get a few turnovers in the Bucs zone, and that will help Daniel Jones get good field position. You know, it'll help him ease into his first start, make him feel comfortable, make some good plays. And the Giants 6.5 points. It's a lot of points against. I can't believe the Bucs are 6.5-point favorites.
The Giants' defense is
turnover.
bad, though.
It is, but that's a bad turnover-prone quarterback.
Long gone are the days when in our picks column when you would link out to the Bucs depth chart and say, look at the talent on this team.
Wasn't that last year?
I'm gonna go with another game where the quarterback situation's in flux, and I'm gonna take the Cardinals, who were 2.5-point underdogs against the Panthers prior to the Cam Newton news, with him likely missing this week. Kyle Allen likely to draw the start. Regardless of who's under center, I think that this is the week that Kyler Murray gets his first win in the NFL. I like the Cardinals. Panthers have just been, well, first of all, they've been terrible under Cam Newton if he were to start. 1-7 against the spread in his last 8 starts, but they've been awful on the road. This is a bad road team. You saw that all throughout last season where they were just a much better team in the friendly confines of Carolina. 2-8 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 road games. And I'm starting to wonder when Ron Rivera is going to get fired. I think he might be the first to go.
I just remember my preseason bold prediction: $1 on Cam Newton retiring this season. There you go. He's one step closer to that.
You made up a
well, he's dealing with a world of issues. I mean, the foot, the fashion, the arm. But yeah, all right. I like the Cardinals over the Panthers.
Nice. Cool. And you?
I'll take the Steelers. Getting 6.5 points out in San Francisco.
That's his lock was. Oh, wait, sorry. Never mind.
Okay. All right. We good? So you might have heard Ben Roethlisberger out for the season. Is that really, at this point, a huge loss for them? Is there, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's just a lot of points for a team that I thought would have at least some talent. Defense is kind of an issue for the Steelers. But they've been pretty decent against the run, and San Francisco clearly with that Mike Shanahan offense is going to try to pound the rock. So maybe it's a decent enough matchup. It's a lot of points. In San Francisco without the left tackle Joe Staley, so maybe for all of Pittsburgh's warts, they still do a pretty good job of getting after the quarterback. So maybe that gets them. I don't know. This week was tough to pick an upset. I'll be honest. So that's my thought there.
By the it is a tough week to pick an upset, but I want to say something. I was wrong about something the last 2 weeks. Dalvin Cook. I was very low on Dalvin Cook, and he leads the league in rushing right now. And he's a very big focal point of that offense, and he did it against a good Packers team, and against the Raiders this week. So maybe
that's big of you, holding yourself accountable.
But one thing I'm always right about is that stat about the Patriots against quarterbacks with fewer than 20 starts under their belt. Guess what the Patriots are doing this week?
They're playing
going up against a quarterback
such guy
with 0 starts under his belt. So I think they covered that huge spread.
So you're doubling down on locks this week, huh? Throwing a couple out
I think the Cowboys locked that 21.5-point spread as well.
Are the Dolphins the worst team you've ever seen? Like in our lifetime so far? I mean, I agree it's 2 weeks in,
I can't remember those Bengals teams and those Browns teams of the early aughts, mid aughts.
I feel like even even those teams, I feel like
that
had
0-16 Browns team still had a chance to. I'm thinking of
I'm just thinking talent too. There was at least some guys that you could hang your hat on and say
Xavier Howard.
Yeah, who else?
Well, that's the other thing too. Is
exactly.
Xavier Howard is having a good year though.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's real good. And so was Minka Fitzpatrick, and who's now.
Minka Fitzpatrick was not good this year.
No, but I would say on the whole, he's a good football player.
Yeah.
They're in the process of just picking off all of their good players too. We'll see you later. What else? You watch them too, and it's we were talking about this the other day. It's just guys running in opposite directions, the directions they need to be running. Like
it looks like that electric football game when you plug it in and it's just like, and it's just the quarterback running like this.
Passing seems to be just as much. It's just as difficult for the Dolphins as it is in that game. It's surprising. Like you look at a guy like, and this is my point I was talking to you yesterday. Is like Brian Flores comes from the Belichick. You like at least same thing with Patricia. You think you would take like not the instincts, but the game management, game strategy part of it. That part should be like the easy part. At least in-game stuff is pretty simple, I would imagine. But
you can't necessarily replicate the culture of New England.
Yeah,
but you should be able to replicate like the clock management and just like things from a discipline standpoint, just everybody being on the same page.
There should be something that you picked up in preparation, or film prep or film study, like where you see certain things. Like the Dolphins, I know they have terrible players. It looked like they've never seen the Patriots before in their entire lives. It looked like the Monstars against the the Looney Tunes before they got their stuff back. Like it looked just. Before they took Michael's secret stuff, not just they get their talent back after they win, as everybody knows. Space Jam, it's a great movie.
Spoilers.
But that is a good point. Brian Flores was in New England for years. He looked like he was completely blindsided by the Patriots' ability to play football. It's weird.
Guys, hockey's back.
Hockey's back.
Preseason.
Oh, there you go. Sports grab bag.
I was shocked. I was checking NFL scores, and then I see the Vegas Golden Knights, Max Pacioretty scoring a hat trick against the Arizona Coyotes Sunday in the desert. Like, what?
I'll never get used to calling them the Arizona Coyotes.
No. Yeah.
They'll always be Phoenix to me.
How about the
all the transplants in Phoenix?
All the transplants. Phil Kessel is the newest transplant.
So everybody from DC goes to retire. Chicago, DC, Arizona.
That's a stopover.
The 1998 Cincinnati Bengals, 3-13. They were outscored by like 200 points. Bruce Coslet, head coach.
I mean, the Dolphins might be outscored by 200 points in the first 3 weeks of the season.
They're very
trending
close.
in that direction.
They've been outscored by 100 points already.
Do you think there's a higher chance the Dolphins score a touchdown this week, or the Patriots allow a touchdown?
Dolphins scored a touchdown.
I don't
mean,
Patriots do you want to talk 5 straight games?
Do you want to talk about
5 straight games? Super Bowl?
Allowing a touchdown?
Yeah. Super Bowl, week 1, 4 straight games.
4 straight games, yeah.
Do we want to discuss real quickly the Patriots spread this week, 22.5 at home?
I mean, we just did.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I mean, more or less. I don't know. It's
33-3.
But it's so
rookie quarterback.
That's the thing. Where do the points come from?
I don't see where the points come from.
It makes no sense.
See, I feel better about the Jets' ability to cover the spread with Luke Falk in the center than Trevor Siemian, because I know Trevor Siemian's bad. I have no idea about Luke Falk.
No, but
maybe he's okay.
It's the next Tom Brady.
He is.
Yeah, maybe he's good enough to score 10 points. In which case, you're banking on the Patriots scoring.
Well, the other thing too is you look at least they have Le'Veon Bell, who would be miles away, is the best player on the Dolphins. But that's exactly what Belichick and the Patriots are keying on. He's not going to do anything.
Well, that's the thing too, is you saw they really tried to force feed him the ball against Cleveland, and it was just incredibly predictable.
Yep.
So they'll probably get more of the same this week.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun game. It's killing football. All right. Anything else, guys?
No.
But Luke Falk last year when he wasn't playing was a 28-year-old HR manager in Salt Lake City. Interesting.
I don't think that's. What are you talking about?
Luke Falk is a 28-year-old human resources manager. Oh, that's another Luke Falk.
What are you on LinkedIn?
The first place he goes to look up.
It was on the Athletic.
Pro Football Reference.
He's on LinkedIn pulling resumes.
Is that the guy who's been getting the Titans emailed him the playbook? Yeah.
I thought he was kind of left football for a little bit and was doing HR and came back.
No.
Maybe.
It's a very tricky
at some point.
Washington State Cougar.
Wazoo.
Your team.
Quarterback you.
Your team. You got a lot of feedback when you pledge your allegiance to Washington State.
So it's good. We're 3-0. Just beat Houston, and that's the thing. You're taking over the NFL. Gardner Minshew and Luke Falk.
You got in. You got in while the going was good.
That's right.
It's a good time to be a Cougars fan.
Mike Leach,
Go Cougars!
Greatest college football coach of all time. All right, I'm gonna go eat this now.
Let them eat cake.
Anyway, that's it. The spread. Be back next week. See you then.